Good afternoon. It is April 9th, 2020, and we're going to call our special Wright County Board meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have 4 commissioners present, and Commissioner Burrell has joined us remotely along with some other department heads. Our business today, the agenda again, brings us back to COVID-19 updates, and moving forward, we've got new extension from the governor that we'll discuss. But we also had a potential item, and I don't know if you would be comfortable petitioning this onto the board, Commissioner Burrell, because it's not on the agenda, but could be considered a time-sensitive thing. Administrator Kelly, about the...
Yes, I'll go up here. Probably
Okay.
Hear me better. Thank you, Madam Chair. One item we got yesterday, the contract approved from the union side for AFSCME. We would like to get that moving as soon as possible. I realize today's meeting is strictly about COVID, so I would ask to petition that on today for signatures so we could get the payroll processed as soon as possible. If that's not amenable, we'll move it to the meeting on the 21st. So,
I appreciate that, Administrator Kelly. This would be on the consent agenda. If it wasn't approved today to be petitioned on, so
Well, I'll make a motion to petition it on for today's.
all right.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Is there any discussion on this? All right.
Charlie, you okay with it?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to matter. It's not anything that somebody's going to have a beef about, I don't think.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Thank you. All
I
right.
have to say, Madam Chair, I have to say Commissioner Brown votes aye, otherwise you might have Kreiser or Brian or somebody voting for me.
Oh, well, don't let them. All right, so that has been petitioned on. So we act on that?
I'll make a motion
Wait.
to approve signatures for the contract for AFSCME.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter to approve the contract with AFSCME. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Commissioner Burrow, thank you. Passes 5-0. That is approved, so we can move forward with that. Thank you. Now back to the COVID-19 updates. Administrator Kelly, we got new directives from the governor, and
Sure.
it will impact us again.
I'm sure you probably know at this point that yesterday the governor had a press conference and extended the stay-at-home order through May the 4th. So I think a few items that we would want to discuss today, and certainly open to any additions. We have the public counters currently planned to be closed through the 17th, which is the Friday. I think we should address that topic if we're looking to extend. Additionally, we've got our current compensation set up through the 18th, which is the end of that payroll period. I think it'd be wise to discuss that today as well. I know there's a few other things that are kind of getting kicked around. Public health certainly should give us an update on where things are at today as well. So if there's any others, I would at least propose those 2 items for discussion today.
And, yep, Commissioner Vetch, did you? Oh, okay. So, yes, as far as closing the counters, I think it's appropriate to keep them closed until potentially opening them on May 4th. So it's
May 5th.
May
Isn't-
5th. It's through May 4th. It's through business day of
Fourth
May
is Sunday,
4th.
right?
Yep. So it's
it
a
is
no,
through-
4th is a Monday.
Is
It
it a
is a
Monday?
Monday.
Yep. So be
Correct.
because they have schools potentially resuming on Tuesday, May 5th at the soonest.
Okay, all right. So this would be, if we extend this, it would be to keep our public counters closed through Monday, May 4th, along with the governor's, in line with the governor's directives.
Yeah, not much of a choice there. If we need a motion?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, members of the board, this
Yeah.
is Greg.
Yep, Greg?
Just looking at Executive Order 2033, issued by the governor yesterday, it is in effect until Sunday, May 3rd, 2020 at 11:59 p.m.
Okay. So it is May 3rd.
It's May 3rd now.
So-
Okay, why do they have it saying May 4th everywhere?
I think maybe until May 4th.
Okay.
I mean, so,
I remember May 3rd, but that
So we
was
could
Sunday.
open on Monday, May 4th.
Okay.
so we could potentially open our counters on May 4th, unless something,
Hopefully.
yeah, unless
Lord
something
willing.
changes. So thank you for adding that, Greg. All
Well,
right,
I'll make a motion to keep the public-facing windows closed through the end of day, May 3rd.
all right.
Second,
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Potter. Any discussion?
yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On that particular order, if the governor should extend it, then we'll reconsider it at that time.
Correct.
But it does, that's through Sunday.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 All right.
Madam
And
Chair, I certainly hope we do not have to be talking about any more extensions beyond May 4th,
I-
because this is,
I'm hopeful also. Trying to stay optimistic about this, for sure.
I know that some of the departments that have public-facing windows are getting sneeze guards put into place to help allow us to open up when we are allowed and protect both residents and our employees
Yep.
too.
It's like,
So,
it's like the cover over a salad bar, so.
yeah, so that should work out well, I think, for everybody, I hope.
All right, and the second item, Administrator Kelly?
Do you want me to go back up there, or
Unless you want to have Sean come up.
either way, or we can join
You
you
can,
guys?
you can just kind of keep your 6-foot thing and,
You want us to put tape on the floor for you?
yeah.
I think we're spaced enough, so, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the current arrangement, which has been planned to be in place through the 18th, which is the end of the payroll. I guess today, you have options of continuing on that same path and direction as you have, or we could look at something else, or there's different modifications you may, I guess I'm trying to get a flavor of where the board wants to go on this. This will be, since I believe the 18th we started this, so that will be about a month in time. There's different things to, if the board has questions that myself and others in admin and HR can speak to if there's questions. So I guess I'm kind of asking for a little bit of direction on which way you want to go today.
If, Administrator Kelly and Board, if we extended this, it would be through pay period that ends on May 2nd, right? Correct? That would be,
In my opinion, that's a clean break, regardless of what's decided. That's kind of what we followed this far, it's kind of by pay period. Granted, it's only been one full pay period, but
yeah.
As a business owner, taxpayer, I have a problem with people being paid and not doing any work. You know, for those that are working from home and doing things, I think that's fair that they continue to get paid.
Right.
But if there are people that are not working, I have a problem with continuing to pay them.
And I think that that's what we need to ensure with our department heads. So, for example, you know, we talked about our maintenance people. Well, there's not very many people in the building, so they can be doing other projects here, you know, special cleaning, painting, that kind of thing, that, so they are here working. If it's mowing and whatever, eventually we're gonna start that with parks and our maintenance people. So in a discussion with Administrator Kelly and our HR Director, Sean, we feel that it's important that people are working, that whether they can work remotely at home, or if they can't do that, then they have to be physically here doing something. And there's a lot of people that, can come in, pick up their projects and that kind of thing, and then go home and work remotely that way. So we're limiting contact with each other. But that's something that we need to ensure that, yes, they really are. They really are working. Another discussion that we had was if someone has a doctor appointment and that kind of thing, so they aren't able to, be working, then that needs to be noted that they're taking, sick time or vacation time as it is. So those are some definite considerations, because you're right. We're all taxpayers here, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our citizens as well as our employees. John, did you have?
Madam Chair, and
Yep. Commissioner Vetch.
because I'm in the same sentiment as both of you, that, we don't want the perception that some people are getting a free ride to stay at home and paint their house or whatever it may be. Through just kind of my interactions with different departments, I've found that the large majority of them, and I'm guessing if any of the department heads in here would say that, I'm guessing 80 to 95% of the people in their department, there probably is a handful of people that don't have a very full work plate, and that would be just a matter of us figuring out how could that be changed.
Yeah.
So.
I guess one thing, we did some preliminary data analysis on what was submitted for the timesheets in here, and it was under 5%. So we have tracked both the COVID work and non-work time. It's under 5% of our payroll hours for this last pay period. So there's been a little bit of it, but it's certainly not rampant. And again, that kind of flows. Some of the groups are a little more seasonal, depends. Building maintenance, I know, has had a great opportunity to work on things that we're not able to do in the public areas.
Right.
That you can't do. Stairways are very difficult. You hate to shut them down when we have people in the building, so this has been a nice opportunity for that. I think departments have been really creative in trying to find ways to get processes done remotely and getting people distance as much as possible. So I guess I'd commend them in finding ways to get the work done and still serving the public.
And certainly, if they're comfortable bringing in more people on site, just making sure that they, maintain their distances, and certainly wearing masks and gloves is a way to protect others. If, as they say, you're pre-symptomatic, you don't know you've got anything, but, so, yeah, thank you. So,
Well, for those that don't have any particular work for their departments, maybe there's other departments that have some scanning or things that they can't get to because they're always so busy, that we could utilize these people
Right.
for, so that we should be able to find, if somebody wants to work, we should be able to find something for them to
Yep.
do.
right, and that's a good point too, and certainly, the department heads can talk to each other and say, I've got this project, or, do you have someone that isn't full-time busy right now? So that's certainly a possibility too.
And Madam Chair, I don't know how possible it is, because like Wright County Community Action right now has lists of hundreds and hundreds of people that have funded for this meal, that they actually have to physically call all these people and verify this, and they can't just use anybody to do that. If there's some of these employees that have been background checked through the county, that if they're looking for works, that this stuff that they could actually go through home and do the verifications that they need to do for these meal deliveries.
Yeah, they're delivering 4,000 meals a week. I mean, that's tremendous. That's a tremendous workload. Yeah, I don't know if that's so.
We could facilitate that work through county employees that maybe don't have a full work plate,
Yeah, I don't.
Potentially. They're connected with us. And that's not been one of their asks, but we've helped with other things.
And there is a possibility that we can explore that as we move forward, and that is if someone wants to take a furlough, they can do up to 35 days until the end of the year, and that would be, they wouldn't lose their benefits, but they just, okay, I'll take a day this week without pay, and they continue their benefits, but that is a possibility that it's not unprecedented. This is something that was put into place in 2007 through 2009. So I don't know if you want to maybe answer any questions, Sean, about that?
Yeah, I'm sure, also PTO, sick time, catastrophic, I don't know, if any of that's, all that's available for them too?
Sure. Madam Chair, members of the board. What we did is, Lori and I looked back at some archives that we had, and we do have a past practice of having a unpaid leave program where people can voluntarily sign up and say, I want to take a number, like 1 day per week off. You wouldn't get compensated for that day, but you continue to receive your accruals. You'd also continue to receive a paycheck that you would take your deductions out, so you continue to receive your health insurance and all the benefits that you're signed up for. But it allows you the flexibility of also, if you want to take some time off, do some things, but not affecting your PTO, your vacation, sick leave accruals. So that bank would stay the same. And it's a win-win situation for the employee and also a win for the county, in that we could be saving money, which at the end of the year could be an issue. So.
Yep. Thank you. So that's something we're exploring. I think it's something you need to talk to the unions about and that kind of thing to see if there's how we'd exactly roll it out, but just to get people thinking that it's a possibility.
So from Health and Human Services, I know that practice was in place when I arrived, and it's not always a win-win for the county, because if staff are allowed to take that time off, that means that their work is not getting done during that time. So I would like that to be considered. And if you could just clarify the board's expectation on time off, like leave and sick time, because the instructions we have is that they don't have to use leave during this time. So that's where Health and Human Services is seeing the utilization of the non-working paid time, is that staff have scheduled sick and vacation that was previously approved, or now that it's been going on, they're making requests for days off, which is fairly normal, especially when you're looking at the length of time that it's been off. So we'll just ask that you consider those options too.
I got confused here. So they're asking for time off, even though they're being paid right now?
Well, they're asking to take a day off from doing work. And they're getting paid because that's the instruction. Staff will not be required to use approved leave during this period.
So our staff have all been working throughout this entire time. So we're looking for direction for supervisors to use with staff. If somebody now comes and says, I'd like to take a half day off, or I want to take a day off, I think it's difficult because, we want the work to continue. We're concerned on the other side of that. If staff are asking to have time off and there is work to be doing, is it the wish of the board that they take time off getting paid without using their vacation during this declared emergency?
Yes, Madam Chair, so my understanding is right now, if you're working at home, you are still working. If you decide on Friday that I am going to go grocery shopping and I'm going to paint my house and I'm not going to take any phone calls, do any emails that day, that you are using a PTO for that day.
No, absolutely not.
That's not what's been
That's
happening.
not what's been communicated to us.
And it's confusing for us and the message to staff, because staff have not been taking their approved leave throughout this period. They've been being paid for being at home. So my expectation that I've communicated is, as you have work, we expect you to be working. But now that it's been going on a month now, they're saying, well, I want to take a half day off. And I feel like it's a conundrum, because if I approve that, they're taking time off on the county and not using their PTO time.
If you are not going to be accessible within that work hour day, then you are using PTO. That's the bottom line.
Not what was communicated to us.
As long as you're accessible, in my mind, and you are doing work during that time and you're accessible during that time, then it constitutes work. But if you're not accessible, then no, then you need to use a PTO. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
And that's
PTO
what,
or
I guess,
unpaid.
yep, you PTO or unpaid, one or the other. You choose. I don't care.
And I don't know, we have to go back and I guess clarify, because I thought, if people are sick, you're taking a sick day. I mean, if you can't work, you're taking a sick day.
Well, then we gotta clean this up then, because that's how it's going forward, is at this point, if you are getting paid for that day, you're accessible for that day. That means if you were sent an email on that day, I expect an email response back within that day, and within that business day.
But what about those people that aren't doing any work from home?
But that's where we're changing this.
Use sick leave or PTO or paid time off, or not
Yeah,
paid.
no.
We have to find work for them.
Now that, but we did state that until the 18th,
18th, yeah.
Yep.
that they're gonna be paid, but going beyond that.
Beyond that,
Beyond that, if you
All right,
are gonna
so-
not work on that day, you are
Okay,
gonna.
so for now, for Health and Human Services people, this will go the way we've been doing it through the 18th. After that time, they're gonna have to claim, if they take a half a day off, that's the way they'll have to do it.
And there are some that vacations that might have been approved in, January before any of this started. Well, my understanding is that would be honored. And I guess maybe we're thinking on one thing and we communicated something different.
And honestly, I think probably in practice, more people ask for vacation and then cancel them. So I think, because a lot of people cancel
Right.
vacations.
They had to,
stay
yeah.
home.
They couldn't
So they're
travel.
working.
Yeah.
But it is a conundrum going forward, and we would like to really understand what we're approving on timesheets when people are not working and when the people are not working.
Does this
What's
give-
the expectation going
Does that give
forward?
better clarity to you at all?
I don't think it was just through services, the whole room collectively, it's been everybody that was under that.
Yeah.
you must not have been listening, because we said to the 18th they were getting paid, and it's got the extension, so after the 18th, that's gonna change. So up to the 18th, we already said how we're gonna do it. Okay, we got problems, yes, absolutely. But we didn't think this was gonna go on so long. Now it's gone on longer, now we gotta change horses here.
Right.
This is phase 2.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Potter. I think that's what we're wondering.
And
Because we already ruled on that a couple weeks ago, on how to deal with that, the first until the 18th.
Yeah. John?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Commissioner Potter, you're correct. That was our understanding too, because we did have a few employees that couldn't work remotely. But also too, I believe the understanding of the admin and the board was that, if you're home, we're not saying you got to work your standard hours, but you should be available to respond to emails and calls and things like that. You don't have to respond with your normal business hours, but you would be responding and be receptive to anything that comes before you. So you are on the clock basically, but we're paying you to be available. So, and moving forward, I would say on the April 19th is when you would be using your PTO, vacation, sick leave, your accruals. If you're planning on, taking time off, go get the car oil change on the car, go get groceries, things like that, and you're actually not working.
Madam Chair,
Or unpaid.
Commissioner Potter?
the other thing I'd like
Good,
to add,
but hopefully we have employees with enough time, so on the
if
books.
department heads have people that don't have things to do because they can be instructed, okay, you're not working from home because I don't have anything for you at this point in time. You're either taking vacation leave or you're taking unpaid. Because you just don't make work. If they got work to do, that's one thing, but if they got nothing for them to do or nothing's critical to get done in the next, skip it. This is your options. You're either taking your vacation time or your unpaid leave, one or the other.
And also
That's
too,
kind of incumbent upon the department heads to know which people qualify for that, because some people, you just don't want them to sit home, because that's bad perception out there, public. We're all laid off, but these guys are getting paid for sitting home.
We're, at this point though, Commissioner Potter, I don't think we're exactly set up to do unpaid leave, or are we? Don't we have to run that through unions?
at this time, some would have to use up all of their accrued leaves before we could put them on an unpaid leave status. So that would be, we'd have to come back with a program,
Yeah.
which, we can certainly do that, but it would be a program adopted by the board, and it would be from April until the end of the year that we'd probably implement.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Burrell?
Madam Chair, I would just question Sean, but why would anyone want to take unpaid leave where if you could just say that, get laid off and collect unemployment? I don't understand that.
Well, we don't have a lot of employees that don't have accrued leave on the books, I believe. I mean, we have some that are maybe approaching that we would have to discuss. But I think most people in today's economy would want to keep their job as well, and we as a county want to keep those people because of the training costs and And, you know, if we let somebody go, there's no guarantees that we're going to get that person back when the economy does improve, so.
Well, the other problem, Charlie, the other problem.
But just knowing that it's going to be a short-term layoff, hopefully, it's not like we're losing the employee, just knowing that until this goes over, you know, whatever.
Another challenge, Commissioner Burrell, is that if you go down the layoff route, you don't get to choose usually who is the person you're laying off. It's based on seniority in the union contracts. So you go by classification, and sometimes it's not the person you want to lay off. It's usually it's one of our younger employees who just started, so.
Like, I guess then, could you check with the union? I mean, if somebody requested a layoff, though, I guess, I'm not saying that at this point to just lay somebody off, but if they, instead of taking unpaid leave, why wouldn't they just say, ask for a temporary layoff?
Well, and we're kind of doing that with the voluntary leave of absence program, in that they could take time off, but they would also have the opportunity to come back to and their job would be available to them.
Yeah.
But would they get unemployment then?
No.
No.
I just think if they did a short-term layoff, then they would be able to collect unemployment. It'd be less of an economic hardship for them.
But also, too, it'd be an economic hardship for us because counties have to pay dollar for dollar.
So it doesn't, it saves us money now, but we'll pay it back in 6, 12, 18 months or 36 months over a period of time, so.
And also, too, just let the commissioners know, we're already seeing an influx of unemployment claims from previous employees that worked for us, because we're on the hook for a percentage of their unemployment.
Oh.
So we've received 10 in the last week.
Wow.
So we're going to be paying, in addition, even if they're not an employee of Wright County right now.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Glyden.
As far as an unpaid leave, I'm not comfortable with making people take all their vacation time or PTO. Mm-hmm. The way the world is right now, once we get back to the new normal, whatever the hell that's going to be, people are going to want to take some time to recharge their batteries after all this. Mm-hmm. I'd like to leave, 5 days or something on the books for them so that they can do that. I'd hate to take all their PTO away before they can take an unpaid leave. If they want to leave, 5 days or 10 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have to come up with a minimum amount that they can't go below that.
And that's,
They can if they want.
Well, you can take their unpaid leave without using your PTO.
That is correct.
Yeah, so you already allowed
That would
them to
be
take
an
an unpaid leave without.
Oh, I thought, I misunderstood you.
No,
It's a voluntary
I
unpaid,
think
yeah.
there's some confusion when I said that if somebody wanted to, that the way our policy is right now, they'd have to basically utilize all of their accrued leave.
Right.
Before they can go to an unpaid leave status, where if we have this proposed policy in place, we would allow them to.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood.
Take 1 day a week if they wanted an unpaid leave status and not tap into their accrued leave.
Okay, I misunderstood you. So
it'd be
we have to put that
another
into
tool
place.
that we could use anyways.
We have to put that into place.
And Madam Chair, I like that modification because it gives us the flexibility in case, because something like this is going to happen again.
Sure.
And so this is a learning experience, okay? What happened, what do we do well, what do we need to change, and what do we need to improve? This is a perfect example of that, because, and I agree with you, Commissioner DeLayden, not everybody wants to bring down their vacation or leave all the way to 0. But, if they're sitting on a whole lot of time, they more than likely to take some. But if they're sitting down and think, okay, I've only got 5 days, maybe allow them to have a minimum, or you got to burn it down to X amount before you go there. Otherwise, have multiple paths you can get to that point to save us.
And also, too, the policy that you adopted on Tuesday, the FFCRA, that allows more protection for staff. If they do have a family member themselves get the COVID virus, they have the 10 days that's covered as sick leave under the Fed's policy. And also, too, the extension of the FMLA, that they would have 12 weeks of protection as well. So we are adding to the toolbox here and adding protections for our staff.
All right, any other questions?
Madam Chair, Administrator Kelly, I guess at this point I would like to address some sort of a letter or email that we're going to send out to department heads on terms of work expectations. From the board going back, from my perspective, is that if a department head requests that an employee be able to call them over a question or something, and if they can't get back to them within an hour, then there should be a question of whether they should be using PTO for that time. I mean, that's kind of the expectation from my side. I get that they ain't gonna be able to do it that second, not that 30 minutes, but if you can't do it within an hour, then I question whether you're in the capacity to be working or available to work for that day.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Burrell?
I just want to be 100% in agreement with Commissioner Vetch, because I think people somehow have this, well, if I get back to you in 24 hours, you know, that's acceptable. And in the situation that people are in right now, they should be getting back. If you do a phone call and it goes to an email message, they should be returning that call, I mean, Johnny on the spot.
So as long as we kind of put that expectation out there, so that way it gives a tool for the department heads to hold some accountability and be able to charge people the PTO if they actually are not going to be able to conduct any work, and be able to be helpful to their supervisors in getting work done. So.
And I think it's, you know, we have to have reasonable expectations too. If someone's in the middle of working on a pretty tough case, you know, maybe they can just send a message back that, you know, I am tied up with a case and I will get back to you just as soon as possible. So, and yeah, because people are going through a lot of tough times now, but a lot of business is up for a lot of our employees.
Well, if they're replying back by email, then you know they're available.
Yep.
You know, so that's kind of a situation there. I don't know if Charlie heard me there, but.
Yes and no. I mean, I can be working. I can't necessarily stop what I'm doing because I'm in the middle of something, but I can respond that, you know, if you know what I mean. I'm working on something, but I can I'll get back to you in a few minutes kind of thing.
If you're at that point, you're justifying to your supervisor that I'm working on project B. You have a question about project A. I will get back to you. Within that hour, you're going to get back saying, I'm working on project B right now. I understand you have a question on project A. I'll get you that details. Give me another hour.
Right, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reasonableness that they have with that.
Yeah.
But it's not like, hey, I'm busy right now because I'm painting my room. I'm not going to answer this question.
Right.
You know, that's, yep.
Yeah.
Or I'm not at home.
Or not home, exactly. I'm sorry, I'm out for a walk.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In this case, when we're contemplating modifications to this, you know that overwhelming majority will comply with whatever rules you got here. And for those that aren't going to comply, going to try to cheat the system or whatever, we do have that mechanism. If they sign a time card and it's fraudulent, they got problems. You know, they got real problems because they get caught saying, I'm available, but they're not. They're caught going somewhere else. They got bigger problems than that, and that actually goes in the file. But I don't think we're going to have that with majority of the people. I mean, I would be hard-pressed to find a handful of them that would actually try to cheat the system a little bit. But there's people that always do it just for whatever they think they're not going to get caught. But the signing of the time cards will catch you if you did do something that was not above board.
Yeah, and so starting on the 19th.
Yep.
Or the 20th, which is a work day.
19th is a beginning of pay period, but it's
Yeah,
not a day of
20th
work.
is the work day. This will go into effect hard and fast.
Understood.
If you're at home working, you are expected to work.
All right. Now we've moved along so far, I can't remember if we've voted.
No, we did not, Madam Chair.
And Madam Chair,
Mr. Potter.
the actions we take on this will help with some of the constituents that I have that are questioning, you know, we're all laid off, how come they're still getting paid? And this modification will help on some of those questions that they have is, you know, and I firmly believe that if they're not working, they shouldn't get paid or use their vacation time.
Right.
But if they got something to do, that's fine. But if they're not getting paid, they're just kind of laughing, how, look at they're paying me and I'm doing nothing. Well, to be a congressman.
Madam Chair, members of the board, one question that came up was if you're working from home and you have a younger child that you're in charge, you know, you're providing childcare, because a lot of our staff are also doing a lot of hours in the evening.
Right.
And it may not be, it may be a challenge for them to respond, within that 1 hour time frame. Is that going to be an issue, or is there some flexibility as long as we understand that, because some people may work a couple hours in the morning and then, put their computer to the side and then work, in the evening, or, as long as they're putting in their 8 hours, I guess.
I guess,
think
Madam Chair, so I look at it from my household, doing schooling with 6 kids and working with my wife and working at home and trying to finesse that. You still have your computer up, you still have your phone on you, you're still going to get that information from your supervisor. And you know what, you're going to answer the question to the best of your ability. Then at that point, you're going to communicate your struggle of the education with your supervisor, and you're going to say, you know what, hey, I'm working with my kid, just let me finish this up, and I'll get to you at this point. But you are constantly, if you're getting paid from home, you're in constant contact with your laptop and your phone, and making sure that you're answering that stuff. I mean, then they can work it out with their supervisor. If there's too much, then you maybe have to have a different discussion on whether this is actually going to be something you can fulfill.
Mr. Potter.
Madam Chair, thank you. Sean, to answer your question, the department heads will know their people, and, they're not going to have your 8 to 4:30 straight. It might modify a little bit. My wife is working from home. Hours are goofy as all get up. Okay, they might be able to log in at 7 o'clock and start working, and they got to take those hours for those kids, and they might be working a little later in the day because, kind of all bets are off right now for the 8 to 4:30 time frame, hard, fast time frame. As long as they make an honest effort to get the 8 hours in, I'm fine with that, because it's just, people, when they get these options like that, do appreciate it and actually get more work done. I mean, take Health and Human Service, when we did the pilot program for the work from home, they actually increased the caseload by what percent? It was phenomenal.
Yeah, fiscal or in financial services, it went up about 20%.
Right, and that's how you can say, hey, this is how it's working, see?
No, appreciate the clarification, so thank you.
And I think that helps us set the expectations for staff. We can set an expectation of what the board expects, and then work with our staff.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Dun, 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 dun.
Matthew Bomby.
May I speak?
Yes, please.
One thing I'd like to say is that the reason that I came here after 24 years of active duty is that people that work for the public enjoy doing it. People will go out of their way to find something to do to help support the public. This is an organization that tries hard to do the right job. What I would like to see, though, is if somebody hits a roadblock, I have done all the work that I could get done between Monday and Thursday, and I got 8 hours. If there was a mechanism that they could say, I've got 8 hours of free time, what can I do to help out? So we can share the burden, because there are things that I could use help with in IT. I don't know the last time anybody's laid hands on each of these computers to verify the serial numbers to check against our master registry. There are things where, trust me, we're IT. We can find work that involves no contact with humanity whatsoever that is still effective. So if there was just a mechanism by saying, I've got a few people that have some extra hours, does anybody need help? We can find time to fill that will both, do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay and still support the citizens.
And Madam Chair, and I agree, I don't want anybody that wants to work to have to use their PTO because they don't have work within their department if we can facilitate it elsewhere.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's what we, had talked about, and I appreciate Matthew coming forward, but actually, I think that you work with a lot of humanity, you just don't have to have personal contact.
We just don't like it.
That's right.
All right, so, remind me, Commissioner DeLayden, did you make the motion, and Commissioner Potter, did you make the second to extend this
May 2nd.
until the pay period, May 2nd pay period? But now we have, clarified some things as far as, if people are taking a sick time, they need to use their sick day. If they're taking a vacation day, they need to use their vacation day. Is there any other clarifications that we need to make on this, Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. There was actually a couple different motions, and one was to the public closure of the counter to conform with the governor's request or executive order. The other one had to do with the pay period as of the pay period that ends on April 18th, I think the day was.
Correct, yes.
After that, then we get the new rules go forward from that, because up until that time, that was phase one. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Phase one, we don't know how long it's going to last, whatever. We didn't want to disrupt their apple cart, but now since it's going on longer, we had to modify this to match things.
Right.
And both of them had different separate motions in that.
So we did not vote on the public counter closure? We did. I
Yes,
thought
we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Okay, good. I remember something.
So Madam Chair, we
So
don't
the
even have a
second-
motion in front of us to, or do we want a motion basically directing staff to look into creating a voluntary furlough, to create a direction to department heads and supervisors in terms of workplace expectations from April 19th to May 4th for continue to pay, and at what point you take PTO versus remote working?
So
Madam
we
Chair?
would need the motion then to extend this.
Before we do that, we have a workshop on Tuesday next week. I'm assuming that maybe we could have something in writing if we want to meet next Thursday, kind of as a board meeting again with this type of situation. And that way we'd have something in writing, instead of just saying, this is what we're going to approve, we could have the actual policy to make sure it's the way it's supposed to be. You know, again, just because of some of the issues maybe with unions and I don't know, you know, Sean's going to be the expert on that, try and figure out what we need to do. What, is it 5 days? Is it 10 days? I think that all needs to get spelled out in there too.
5
So
days, 10
I don't know, I
days
guess it's up to.
The biggest thing is workload expectation is a lot of what this comes down to is clarifying that no longer can you just say, I'm not available to work and I'm at home and you're gonna pay me. No, if you're getting paid and you're clocking hours, you have to be accessible.
Right, so I'm just wondering if we'd want to have something before we actually.
I mean, I'm okay with seeing
But
something.
again,
too.
it's up to admin as far as I'm concerned on
Yeah.
what they think is what would be better to have.
We certainly can. That would give us, I mean, people are pretty aware now of the fact that we're going to be extending this. So we could actually take action on it a week from today about going forward, and we could have, like you said, the expectations, and so everyone's clear when we vote, just exactly what it's going to be. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I guess that would be a thought that we have the workshop next Tuesday. We can prepare language, both kind of maybe it's an FAQ to go along with clarifying the expectations, along with a voluntary leave without pay plan. We can present those next Tuesday at the workshop, probably towards the latter half of the workshop, and then anything, if we're going to schedule another meeting for next Thursday, that would be an opportunity to adopt then.
All right. Is that acceptable, Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That also would give admin and HR time to put this together, to put it right, so it's clearer than the Crow River is on what we're expecting, what's to be expected here, and that anything that has to be hatched out can be hatched out at the workshop there. But the employees and everybody, the Junction public knows that we are dealing with this right now, and by next Thursday, that will be prior to the end of the pay period, which works out just fine, because then people will know what's going forward, because this will be, in case the governor extends that order even farther than that, we have a game plan going forward. And I do apply. So, Madam Chair, I would make a motion to set a board meeting for Thursday, and that was was that 15th?
16th,
16th.
At 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock? Motion made by
I'll
Commissioner
second it.
Potter.
Okay, we're
seconded by
doing
Commissioner Gillette.
at the, sorry, we're doing one on the 16th at what time?
1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock, okay.
Because that'll give time for staff to get everything together for the workshop, and then we can act upon it on Thursday to make it official, so as Commissioner Delighten was indicating. Charlie, Commissioner Burrell?
I do have a Zoom meeting at 12 o'clock. I think I'll be done by 1 o'clock, but if not, I would join in just a little right after.
What time was your other meeting, Charlie?
It's at 12. I should be done right around 1 o'clock, so.
Okay.
We don't need you, Charlie.
All right. So we have a motion, a second, to have our board meeting on the 16th at 1 o'clock. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Mark with the Parks Department.
Hi, Mark.
It's hard on the phone to know when you can jump in the conversation. A couple couple of questions. One I have for Sean, our HR director. On Tuesday, you guys adopted some things related to COVID-19, 80-hour sick bank. If you meet criteria 1 through 3, and then there was some stuff on distance learning. It'd be nice if that would be clarified as you move through the process on how people would apply for those benefits if they're having distance learning issues. And as far as setting expectations, I think that's great. But I think there's a lot of differences throughout the department. If you're calling my maintenance supervisor at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday and he's out putting bathroom facilities up and getting water turned on, doesn't get back to the office till 3:30, he gives you a call back, it's not within that hour.
Well,
there's going to have to be
he's physically working now.
some reasoning behind, an hour is like, well, because I was just on the phone today for 2.5 hours straight between 3 phone calls. I wouldn't have got back to anybody in an hour.
Right.
So I think there has to be some realization of, yes, people are working. We have to have that trust, but I understand the expectation level as well for you guys. And through this time, through the 18th, I was doing the same thing. If they weren't working, if they took a day off, but they had to get a repair done on their pickup, they had to use PTO. So I think I'm on the page with you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and certainly, we have a great variety of workloads, depending on the department, and if they're out at a site working on whatever, if you have a question, I'm sure that you could get a hold of them via phone, but they're working, so.
Yeah, Madam Chair. I think a lot of it's going to be, left up to the department heads. They know what's going on. I would hope so. If they don't know what's going on, then they shouldn't be a department head anymore.
Yeah, Mark.
But, and there may be some exceptions, which is one of the other reasons why I kind of want to wait for a week, which would give Sean and admin a chance to, HR and admin a chance to fine tune things for those idiosyncrasies that these different departments have, just so that it's a more clear mandate or whatever we're going to come up with.
And certainly, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns or suggestions, send them to Sean and Lee and let them know, so we can clarify them and do corrections.
And Madam Chair, this policy is mostly addressed to the people that are working in modified work environments, not some of your park workers that are working or a deputy that are working in their traditional work environments. These are somebody that, because it's not their traditional work environment, so we have to have some different ways to hold accountability.
Understood.
Yep, so.
Yep, I understand.
Okay.
All right, was that your other, or Sean?
Madam Chair, if you don't mind. Mark, in response to your question, we do have forms that will be coming out here probably tomorrow. We just, because it's a fluid situation, we just had our labor attorney review the application forms. Now those forms for the sick leave and the FMLA extension, you have to have certain criteria or situations that would apply to that. So, but all that will be spelled out in the application forms that your staff would fill out if they fall into that criteria.
Thank you.
How will those people be able to get a hold of those forms?
It'll be on our RightNet on the internet.
Okay, now does everybody have access to the RightNet from remote locations?
They don't, but they could also, if they needed them, they could reach out to HR and we would email them to their personal email account or whatever they need.
Okay, I want to make sure that
yes,
we got that covered too.
And Commissioner Dahlin, just to let you know, we put it on RightNet, and also too, we do an all-user email as well and inform them of it as well, because we know that there are certain people that don't have access to RightNet. So.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Sarah, did you have any updates or?
Oh, yes.
For us, or?
Well, one quick question to Mark. Mark, if I contact you, I do expect an answer within an hour.
Well, they have to have some scrutiny of who's calling you if they deserve that answer.
Oh, okay.
All right, Sarah, you've been busy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I passed out, and I did email it to Commissioner Burrow. This
is at least, hopefully will be good for at least a time period. Our current incident command structure, that's the first page. And then each of those activities in summary, so in bullets, that are happening under each job description. Where we can, in some of those key positions, we have backups. As I've mentioned, we've had a few staff that have been out because of ill family members, and so they've been at home on quarantine. We have a couple people back in, and then we lost another one. So this is a good reference for you, but I would suggest that if you have questions, you call me.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know that it can be kind of understanding the mystery of what's happening over in 127. That's now our dock, or our operations center, can be confusing. That new person is starting on Friday. His name's Greg Weiss. He actually was we'll have to figure out what to do with that, but he's a member of the Public Health Task Force. And he'll be under community surveillance in that job description, He's a planner, so that job description exists, but the activities of community surveillance are described under the incident command structure, under operations. I sent you earlier this week, and it's not an updated one, will be sent to you on Friday as discussed in the email, but I just wanted any feedback you wanted from the one-page surveillance report. We are still waiting a legal opinion on some of the pieces, so this is what I feel like I can probably share. Unfortunately, the reason I feel like I can share this is because we are now at the high number of cases where the information could not identify an individual.
Can't disseminate it that fast, that easy.
Right, so we are today at 12 cases. Not very different than the report that you received earlier in the week. 6 cases are currently active. 6 are off isolation. This is cumulative, so I do not have current hospitalization data. But over the time period, we've had 3 cases that required hospitalization. And again, that's the best of our knowledge. We thankfully currently have no known deaths. And then unfortunately, new today, we have 2 facilities that have been defined by the state as having an outbreak. So 2 long-term care facilities, one in Otsego and one in Delano.
Madam Chair.
And that that is classified as one case at least in the facility?
It is determined, yep, so that's defined on the bottom of the form that you received. There's a double asterisk by it that the key is that it's at least 1 staff or resident in facilities with 10 or more residents.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sarah, in the website there, it shows we have one of the long-term care facilities is now in that. Now you're saying we have 2?
We had another one added today.
Today,
correct.
okay. Riverview Landing, that Otsego, Monticello, where is it?
It's in Otsego.
Otsego, okay, and so we got 2 of them now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, we were doing really well for a long time. We were not on that list at all, but and you knew it's just a matter of time before something would happen there. But yeah, because we have a lot of long-term care facilities in this county to go without any was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
2 is still not good, but it's better, it's better than it could be.
Definitely.
And one other item, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you. Sarah, you came up to the podium, you said you passed out. Can you tell us where, when, and circumstances on when you passed out and what happened leading up to that?
I handed out papers.
Oh,
You weren't sitting there, though.
You said passed out, that's what you said. No, I'm
Before
just-
you were sitting down.
Watch the words you use.
All right. Any other questions for Sarah or any other business to come before the board with COVID? Sarah?
I just want to clarify that the report is what you would like, because then we'll just make sure that we maintain it, and as I mentioned, we'll update it on a week. This more elaborate report will be updated on a weekly basis. We did modify our procedure to update our case numbers on the website. And we were able to accomplish that over the weekend. Depends on what information we get. It's not always complete.
Yep.
And as it becomes more complete, so right now, for instance, I don't know necessarily when some of our individuals, they may be off isolation, but I haven't been informed because that's not our role at this point.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Anything else?
Madam Chair, not so much for Sarah, but for all the department heads. I'm hoping they're kind of reaching out to their counterparts in other county so that when get to the beginning of May and we're able to hopefully kind of get back to work, how some of the other counties are planning on doing it so that we're consistent with the local counties, so that we're not doing something that different than the way they are, so that we end up with a influx of people here instead of in the other counties. You know, do we want to just take care of the residents of Wright County only for the time being? You know, different things like that. I'd like to have them talk with the other counties to see what their plans are for the future.
And I believe that people are kind of in contact with other counties, and certainly the administrators are, and yeah, so it's the auditors. But thank you, Sarah.
Madam Chair, this morning I was out on the Trailblazer bus delivering meals, getting to experience that. I do want to thank Public Health, Catholic Charities, Wright County Community Action, and the handfuls of volunteers that are going out and riding these buses for hours on end, delivering thousands of meals, I can say. I mean, we had 550 of them on Monday. They did 750 on Tuesday, 1,060 on Wednesday, and 1,285 meals today.
Incredible.
Expected to be, like you said, over 4,000 meals for the week when this week, as the end of the first week. Still a lot of demand of calls that Wright County Community Action is getting to get into this program. So who knows what the long-term will look like on this. But I definitely think that on the backside of the pandemic that we are going to find out that we're going to meet a lot of people that are in their 80s and 90s that may continue on with this program after it clears up. So very great program, and I thank all those involved in it. So very
Yes,
good.
thank you for delivering. So, anything else
Thank you, Commissioner Vetch.
that we need to address?
Nope.
Nothing else? We are adjourned at 1:57, and Commissioner Vetch and I will have time to get into our Zoom meeting at 2.
Yes.